Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's my opponent to go first. My rack is not great. Quite a long way from a bingo. Glory would get rid of my problem tiles. But booty only takes an S, not an R. However, I can play Glory, beginning at I2. I'm just pausing in case I have a double-double in column 5. I've got the ology ending, with IRR to go with that, so that's not great. Okay, so Glory is what I've seen. Not a great rack leave, but very few two-tile rack leaves are great. 21 points. I draw the blank, which is good, but I need to get through the Q and the X before I can bingo with the blank. And when I have the Q and the X, I'm generally looking to play the Q first. I've got the I to make chi, and an A for making cat, which does play in column 7. I would play the X first if there was a really hot spot for it, but I don't think there is. $21 points for my opponent. Oi takes an R. Now I'm wondering if I can play my Q with the H. I don't think so without burning the blank, and I don't think I can score enough to justify burning the blank. So cat or chi. I think I'll play just the chi here. The X goes well with vowels, and playing cat would burn the A. This doesn't feel great. Am I missing something? Only 11 points, but I am getting rid of the Q. Great, I draw an E. I'm probably close to a bingo here. But if I don't have one, I can play the X and leave a very bingo-y rack leave. And I could just play X underneath the E of booty, but XI in that spot would score even more. My opponent has not provided anywhere for my X, so this is what I'm thinking of. Playing XI here, 34 points, which is a good score, and a very good rack leave. If I don't have a bingo next go, I'll be able to score with the H. Well, this is looking pretty good. I'm just wondering about ear wash, which would play in column 11. Maybe I just want that to be good. So I haven't seen any bingo which I'm sure of at the moment. EX takes an O after it, but nothing with the blank as an O. Oi takes an R, so any bingo beginning with R would play. Let me run through the alphabet while my opponent is thinking about his move and see if any bingos come to mind. Warhead. I think that's good. Now the V is preventing plays in columns 1 and 3. Nice play by my opponent. Takes out the XIS hook. Nodi takes nothing after it. And Nodi has also killed row K. So even if I have a bingo, it may not play. So it's probably pretty pointless running through the alphabet, because any bingo I come up with is unlikely to play. Now I would have a play in column 11 if the blank was an S and it was an 8 running through the I, but I can't see such a play. Row K is a bingo lane for bingos beginning underneath XO, or rather running underneath node I, but that would require the blank to be an N, and I haven't got such a play. So I need to sort this rack out. I could just play a W down here. 32 points is a good score. And my opponent may open the board up with his next play. I duplicate 2 of the tiles I keep, which is always a little bit annoying. I have hearers and rehears, should an S bingo lane become available. I don't have anything with the blank as an N. Now, what about the blank as an S running through the eye of node I? Can't see anything. Now, booty takes an S, so I would have a 9-letter play if my blank was an S running through ID, so a play ending side. Even that's been taken out, but my opponent has opened a bingo lane. Row L. Fantastic. So I can play hearers across here. Now I'm just wondering if I have a play which can put the S on the end of X on. Hearers and rehears don't work. I'm going to play rehears because hearers, I think, takes front hooks. Rehears 70. Not a great rack. But I do have a scoring tile in the W, and I have a 50-point lead. I'm looking around for spots for my W. The V of vlog has really killed the top left of the board. And node I taking no hooks has really killed the top right. So this board is quite tight. The action looks like it's going to be in the bottom left, especially with the E of rehears over the double word square. But the R only takes an E underneath it. Okay, great. Only 17 points for my opponent. Now what can I do? I can play door at K1, which provides nothing. EE takes a W after it. But I don't have a play which hits the double word square ending in W. So this is what I'm thinking of, and I'm doing this partly because I'm ahead. And this board is really tight, so I might as well keep it tight. If I provide any openings at all, my opponent is likely to take it. So denying any new openings puts a lot of pressure on my opponent to create the openings himself, which I can then capitalize on. Now, the only downside to this move, well, there's a couple. One is its miserly score. And secondly, the vowel consonant balance. Can I do anything about that? I could play WOD at N1. So 15 points for this position. 9 more points, but then I'm providing such an easy scoring spot. Maybe this isn't so easy though, because any such play would have to have an E here underneath head. And I can improve this with WOD, which sorts out the vowel consonant balance a bit better. It provides an easy 2-letter scoring spot for my opponent. So he could get 30 points off that. But I do have to keep in mind my own rack. 13 minutes on my clock, 46 tiles left. I am tempted to go with this. I really don't like keeping 3 vowels and a consonant. Ooh, pretty grim. I'm going to struggle to sort this out. And now my opponent can play at the bottom left without opening it up anything for me. So what to do here? I have got options on my rack, putty, patooey, but nowhere to play them. And if my opponent doesn't play at the bottom, I can't either, because I don't have any vowels which go underneath the W. The best I can do would be TWP. But that's going to leave a poor rack leave. Well, I am now in a very tricky spot with this rack. I don't have anything which goes in front of Eta. Nothing to go after Booty because that's only an S. This whole board is completely seized up. Maybe Vort is the best I can do in row F. 7 points. Gosh. I don't have any plays in column 8 beginning NAS. Tapu and Upta are both good, but nowhere to play those. I'm looking in column 5 in case I've got a play ending ORA. Not very likely. Well, my opponent's taking a while to play. I'd have thought if he was just going to play a short word at the bottom left, he wouldn't need to take a while. Now, apart from TWP, I've also got Awa at M1 for 18 points, which would be better, which would have a better rack lead than TWP, even though it scores less. Wow, only 9 points. Bottom left is available. What I can do now is place my... Well, I can play Tapu across here. So I've really gotten out of jail here. 26 points and a decent rack leave. I'm providing a scoring opportunity here above AB. But I can't do anything about that. Great. That looks quite promising. I'm wondering about earthed, but I may be confusing that with airted. So I can't see a bingo here. I could play EH at 01. Wow, nice bingo by my opponent. 89 points. He takes a 9-point lead. Now, do I have a bingo? I don't think I do. And there are no floaters to consider. So, do I play EH keeping triad? 35 points is a good score. And what about over the top of Tapu? What do I have which goes in front of the U? Nothing. Well, I think that settles it. 35. I draw the Z, which is a good scoring tile. I still don't have anything to go in front of the U of Tapu. Or anything to go after IS in column 11. I've got Darzi on my rack and Kazi. Well, having gotten back to having a decent rack and seeing the board open up, the board doesn't seem to be offering very much. Eta takes a Z in front, but I don't have any three-letter plays ending AZ, so I can't play in row K. I can't see anything decent around Tapu. I could play ZA over the A of Enfants, but that's not great. Ains takes nothing after it, Nodai takes nothing after it. 18 points for my opponent. Now I could play Fritz, but that's not good. It doesn't score well and it places the Z underneath this triple word square. Oh, 11 minutes on my clock, 24 tiles left. Well, since playing Woad, I seem to have had a succession of problematic racks. I'm thinking about playing just Kif across here. Since my rack is so far away from being a bingo, it's not a priority to play the Z off. And this provides nothing for my opponent. But the rack leave is awful. It would be nice to play off one more vowel. 11 minutes left. So I could play Drift. But Z and K is not a great keep. I'm looking for plays ending in U. Can't see one. What a tricky rack. I don't like the rack leave after ZA. Tapu doesn't take any tiles on my rack after it. I still haven't got a something AZ play in row K. I really don't want to keep the K and the Z. Ah. Yeah, this is the play. Oh, no, it's not. I was going to say Zarf, but I hadn't appreciated I'd be placing the Z underneath the triple word square. I don't like it, but I'm going to go with Kif. That seems okay. The Z goes well with vowels, and in particular with O's, so I could play ZO at D1 for 26, leaving a balanced rack leave. I still don't have a play in row K, making Zeta. I've got Orzo on my rack. That does play in row N, but stopping one square short of the double word square, so it's not good. I also have Trues on my rack, nowhere to play it. Orzo also plays in row D, making OU. Orzo also plays in row L, making ISO. None of these plays particularly appealing. Probably ZO at D1 is the most. I have a slender lead of about 20 to 30 points, but my opponent's on turn, so that's not much of a lead at all. Zoo would leave quite a nice rack leave of ADRT. The rack leave of ADTOR isn't that great, So it would be nice to play off both those. Both blanks have gone. 2 S's left. So the remaining tiles, which you can see at the bottom of the screen, not massively bingo-y. But there will be plenty of bingos amongst them. I still haven't seen that one great spot for my Z. I haven't seen anywhere for trues. I could play Zoa in row N above the A of Enfants. 26 points. Keeping DORT. I note that there are no O's to come and only one A to come. So actually, the play of Zoa at D1, keeping ADORT is not such a bad rack leave because neither the O isn't going to get duplicated and the A is unlikely to be duplicated. 9 minutes on both of our clocks, still 22 tiles in the bag. IDE takes an A after it, but I would then need to play beginning AO to play in row L. I don't have one. So at the moment what I'm looking at is Zoa at D1 and Zoa at N7. Both remain available. Crew takes an E in front. My opponent scores only 5 points, which is great. And if he bingos in row B, it won't even be doubled and he'll be opening up row A. So I'm not too worried about that opening. Zove 27. Quite a balanced rack, but no scoring tiles and no bingo. Or no 7-letter bingo that I can see. And I think the only floaters are the C and R of Crew. And I can't see anything beginning with either of those. The NTS of Enfants makes it difficult to play a short word over them, which I'd quite like to do to take out a bingo lane. Duo doesn't play because of Ot. Again, my opponent taking a while with his move. He's 50 points behind. So a bingo would give him a 20 or 30 point lead. Still the J to come of the high scoring tiles. I don't have any tiles to go in front of Eta now. Not that that's a particularly hot spot anyway. It's just a nice spot to play in the sense that it gives nothing to my opponent by way of board position. Great, only 13 points for my opponent. Now what can I do? What can I do to score anything in this spot? Well, I could play Ald, and I'm hoping that it doesn't take an S. I don't think it does. 13 points, and I'm killing this bingo lane. Although there is still a bingo lane in row M, or I'm creating one, it requires massive overlap, so is unlikely to be used. Only 13 points, but I think I was going to struggle to score with this rack, unless I had a bingo in rows C and D, and I couldn't see one. Wow, horrible. Really poor rack. Now, although I don't think Ald takes an S, what I have done is open up row O, so my opponent could play Add G. That might be the worst he can do. But since I'm only 50 points ahead, if he can score 30 or 40, he'll be breathing down my neck. This is a tight board. I can now play in row K. I could play Dom. Although I don't really like keeping 4 consonants because there's a real risk of having 7 consonants and then I'd be in real trouble. And I don't want to be in real trouble when my lead is so slender. But I think I'm going to struggle to either keep my vowel or to play off 3 consonants with it. The remaining tiles still, well, on balance, unbingo-y, but with 2 S's and E's, there are bingos there. I wonder if there was a better alternative to Ald. I can't play in row O underneath the D with a 4-letter play. And what I'd like to be doing at this point is scoring 20 to 30 points a go so that a bingo doesn't end my chances of winning. So at the moment I have seen no candidate plays. Great, only 8 points for my opponent. So I've gotten out of jail there. So what I'm thinking of is that I can play Morn in column 8, 18 points. I could also play Jim hanging on to my O through the Y. That's going to score a lot less. I could also play Mort across above the Y, which has the advantage that it's playing off 3 consonants. The trouble with that is that it's ending 1 square short of the double word square. So I'd only really want to play there if my word didn't take an S, or if it was a 5-letter word, and I don't think I have got a 5-letter word on my rack. The trouble with Morn is the rack leave is dreadful. C, D, G, T. So can I do better than that? 7 minutes left, 9 tiles in the bag, and there are bingos in there. And Morn does provide floaters, but it does take out the ecru hook. $11 points. I'm opening up row F for bingos beginning with S, but I'm killing crew, and my rack leaves okay. 7 vowels out of 16 tiles. Morn would score 18 points, so I'm taking a 7-point hit. But a lot of that is, or some of that rather, is okay because I'm retaining the O, and overall this rack leave feels much better. Now, is there a play in this spot which is 1 square longer? I could play Mike for 13. It still takes an S. I think I'll go with that. Oh, look at that. If I'd played Jim, I wouldn't have had the duplicate G. I'm glad I held on to my O as I draw no vowels. This is a grim rack. G and D don't go well together. But the main problem with this rack is the lack of vowels. There are very few vowels on the board to play through. I can play dog at K1. I wonder if that spot will get taken in this game. Only 12 points, but it does sort the rack out to some extent. Now I have an S, which is good because it means my opponent doesn't have it. but I'm not sure I can play it anywhere to good effect. I could play Orgs at 012, but then I don't really want to be placing an S in this bottom corner because then my opponent could bingo in column 15. 22 points though, which is good. Anywhere else for my S? Not really an S-friendly board. Unless Ald takes an S, and I'm still unsure of that. 29 points for my opponent. So I'm looking for plays in column 11. Is Dorts good? D-O-R-T-S. Not good keeping 2 Gs, and I'd be emptying the bag. So what about playing Orgs in this spot? I'm splitting up the Gs, I'm leaving 1 in the bag. 24 points is a good score. I'm not providing much of a bingo lane in column 12. So I think I will go with that. Pretty awful, but it might be enough. But look at the remaining tiles. They are bingo-y. Having said that they're unbingo-y, the remaining tiles now are bingo-y. But if my opponent bingos, he will be drawing a tile, so I will have one more go. I'm only 50 points ahead, so a bingo would give my opponent a 20 or 30 point lead. And if he does have a bingo, it would almost certainly play in column 13 if Alds was good. Okay, it probably isn't. Now, my opponent only has 5 tiles. He can't bingo. He's 30 points behind. I just need to score. 4 minutes on my clock. I don't have anything to go in front of Orgs. I'm not sure if there is anything. What I can do is Gov. That's a nice killing move. 25 points, so that's going to give me a 50 point lead. I'm going to lose 10 on count back. My opponent would need to score 40 to win. I don't think he can do that with Spine or its anagrams. Yeah, I think this is fine. I've got tied in column 12 if my opponent doesn't go out. Do I have an alternate out? I'm looking to see if I can put my E above crew. I don't think I can. So just tied in column 12. Well, I expect I do have an out elsewhere. I just haven't seen it. I don't have anything to go after IS. On my rack, I've got Diet, Tide, and Tide. My opponent's got 1 minute on his clock, so he's going to have to play pretty quickly. I've also got Sighted in row E through the S of Orgs. But that's not really an alternative bingo since it's using the same spot on the board. I don't have any plays beginning with E or I. Otherwise I could play underneath Ald. I can't. Okay. 23 points for my opponent. Nothing goes in front of Ecruz. He doesn't go out, so I do get one more go. So I think Tide. Oh, well, I was just wondering about Righted, R-I-T-E-D. I'm not sure about that. I am sure about this. 9 points. Just wait for my opponent to formally end the game. Which he does. And the final score, 345 to my opponent, 396 to me. A winning margin of 51 points. So quite a low scoring game, quite a close game. Let's see what I missed. Let me just reply to my opponent. And this was the start of the game. It was my opponent to go first. He played booty. And this was my rack. I played glory for 21. It didn't feel great. I couldn't see anything better. Gyro scores 3 more points, but the L and the R don't go well together, so glory looks fine. My opponent's rack, he plays Tay. And now I have the blank, but I've also got the Q and the X that I need to get rid of. And Xi was my play for 34, and I think that's... I don't think I did do that. I think I got rid of my Q for 18. Which is fine, because it's 16 points less than Xi, but the Q is worth about 13 or 14 points, so... Actually, I played QI for 11. But it's still equivalent to both QI for 18 and XI for 34 when you're taking rack leaves into account. My opponent plays Vlog, and now I've got quite a good rack. And I am able to play Xi and keep a good rack leave, so that's fine. My opponent's rack, he plays Nodai. And this looked pretty good. I have Warhead and probably a couple of other 7s, but a very tight board. Was there a playable bingo? There wasn't. What did I do? I played AW for 32, and that looks fine. My opponent's rack, he plays Ains. And now I had Hearers and Rehears. And I played Rehears because Hearers takes an S in front. My opponent's rack, pretty good. He doesn't bingo. Could he have? No. Okay. He plays tie. This is my rack, which isn't good. And I think this is the start of my descent into a really grim middle game. And I was on the brink of playing Door in K1 and switched to Woad. Well, Woad's being mentioned. And I don't know, it's very difficult. Although it didn't go in my favour this game, it doesn't mean that Woad was inferior to Door. You'd really need to analyse it. But I didn't know my opponent was sitting with a monster. No bingos with this rack. He played Vibe, which I was grateful to see, because it enabled me to play Tapu parallel to it. Now my opponent is able to bingo. And he had bingos in row D as well as row O and elsewhere, including 9-letter plays, Fantasize, D11 through IS. Now this was my rack. Did I have a bingo? Ouch, Eth was good. I saw that and then thought I might have been confusing it with Airted. They're both good. So that was a missed bingo for me, 82 points. Instead I played EH for 35, keeping ADIRT, an inferior play. My opponent's rack, he plays Flab. And this was a really tricky rack. N10 Izzard. Yep. I think I'd have played that if I'd have seen it. Despite the S hook, because the score is so good. Zarf I didn't like because of where it placed the Z. Frizz I didn't like because you can stick an E on the end of it. Yeah, and then just working your way down to lesser plays. I played Kif for 20. I'm not sure how good that was. Anyway, my opponent doesn't have a great rack. He plays Crew. And, well, I think most of these are options I considered, but I still like Zoe at D1. My opponent's rack, he plays in. and my rack, and I played Alds for 13. I still don't know if it takes an S. I don't think it does, and I think that compares favourably with the others. Nothing over 20. Now, this was my opponent's rack. He plays Renai, and my rack, and I struggled with this one too. And as you can see, low scores, horrible rack leaves, so I was struggling with good reason. I played Mike, and although the score is lower than the options on offer here, it's only a 10 points or fewer lower, and it's retaining the O, which was quite critical given the shortage of vowels. My opponent plays Jar, and that was just right for me because I was able to play Orcs, which doesn't appear on this list. Not sure why, because it scores more than anything here and it's quite a good play. Now my opponent's rack, does he have a bingo? No. He plays Marum. And then this was my rack, and I played Gov. And I like that. Good rack leave, good score, and it's killing the board. Now my opponent could have gone out. Gwynep's one of the new words that's come in from GU. I didn't see that. And he also had P-ins at M10. Slightly easier to see, but not totally easy. Anyway, he didn't go out, which gave me one more chance to play. Oh, wow, look at that. There was a 4-letter play. Edit at 012. I certainly should have seen that, and I didn't. And I played tied for 9, so didn't do so great with that last move of the game. The play of edit would have taken me over 400. Anyway, not to worry. It was an interesting game. There were some really hard racks to deal with in there, and some of them on analysis didn't have great plays. I was just faced with situations where all of the plays were lowish scoring and with poor rack leaves, and when you're in that position it's easy to think that there must be a better play out there that you haven't spotted. Well, that's not always the case. So I hope you enjoyed watching that video and got something out of it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.